Heat fans are salivating over this new idea after a brand new mock trade has been released involving this Miami Heat organization and star player from the Pelicans, Zion Williamson. I'm here to break down how this would be a major trade for this Miami Heat team, as well as why the Miami Heat fan base is fired up about the idea. I'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest, so let's not waste any time breaking down why will Zion Williamson be an option for this Miami Heat organization this offseason. Now, there's been multiple conversations on this channel in the past about Pat Riley's postseason press conference, where he dropped bombshell after bombshell about what we could expect to see this offseason from this Miami Heat organization, including the fact that Pat Riley would be open and willing to adding an aging star, which really wouldn't apply to Zion Williamson, as again, he is still relatively young. Despite the injuries and weight concerns that he's had up to this point of his career, he's not really considered an aging star. But in those Pat Riley comments, he also mentioned that he doesn't want to, quote, run it back like he did last season, where he only acquired Alec Burks outside of the new players through the draft. And again, the Heat Nation was kind of confused why there wasn't a big splash made, why there wasn't even a significant move made last season in the sense of an already established player to add to this Miami Heat organization. Now, Zion Williamson, like we mentioned earlier, is still relatively young into his career, but due to the injury issues as well as the weight problems that he has been dealing with, it seems like if someone were to go out and try to acquire Zion Williamson, it could be for a discounted price, and that's where there's real value in this actual conversation. Now, shout out to Heat Culture on Twitter as they proposed this mock trade on their Twitter account, and they got a lot of engagement, and a lot of it was positive from Miami Heat Nation. Now, the trade was that Zion Williamson and Kelly Olynyk would then end with the Miami Heat in exchange for Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, as well as 2 first-round picks and Kevin Love. Now, that trade seems a bit steep in the idea that obviously the Miami Heat would be then giving up 2 first-round picks as well as 2 very good players for this Miami Heat organization, and a spot-up three-point shooter in Duncan Robinson, and really the newer small forward for this Miami Heat team that was freshly acquired from that Jimmy Butler trade this past season. Now, Wiggins didn't play all that well in the final stretches of this past season, including the playoffs against obviously the Cleveland Cavaliers, as well as in the play-in games. But he still has a lot of potential, especially because he's a lengthy wing who has the ability to score in really all facets of the game, while also being a pretty good defender, while also maintaining a lot of athleticism on both sides of the court. Andrew Wiggins goes with, obviously, if you don't remember him in high school, please go watch his mixtape. It was phenomenal. Obviously, he then went to Kansas, where he was a stud. He came into the league and was a very, very, very highly rated and graded prospect, if you will, coming into the NBA. Obviously, he didn't turn into be a multiple-time All-Star. I believe he has 1, maybe 2 All-Star appearances in his long career. But again, it's the established veteran leadership that he could bring to an organization like the New Orleans Pelicans that could really be valuable to someone like Joe Dumars, who is the new president of basketball operations in New Orleans. Now, this could mean a lot of things. Could Joe Dumars walk into this new establishment, this new organization, this new job description, and try to make a big splash? Go out and move someone in Zion Williamson, who has been a part of this Pelicans team his entire career, but up to this point, through 6 years, has missed 1 full season, and if you go off the seasons he has played, there's not a lot of games played in that 62-game season. Or that 82-game season, I'm thinking of 162 for baseball. Last year, he played 30 games. The year before that, he did play 70, which is an outlier. The year before that, he played in 29. The year that is the year following the year where he missed an entire season due to injury. Now, but the 2 years before that, his rookie year, Zion only played 24 games, and in his sophomore season, he played 61. So 2 years out of his 6-year career where he's played 60-plus games in an NBA season. Now, obviously, that is not the greatest ratio of all time, as well as obviously missing an entire season due to a substantial injury, and that's not where it all ends. Obviously, if you look at Zion Williamson's injury history, it is long. There's a lot of magnitude to it. There's a lot of substantial injuries that have sidelined him for a long tenure of time, as well as obviously the weight issues that have obviously been the topic of conversation, it feels like, every time Zion's name is in the news. Now, with all of these problems and all of these defects going along with Zion Williamson, the player, it seems like there could be a discounted price. Now, would the Miami Heat be paying 2 first-round picks? Now, if Joe Dumars went out there and really tried to stretch the value of Zion, I could see how he could demand 2 first-round picks as well as some player assets for the young potential star. But with the overall injury history and being injury prone and the inability to really lose that weight and stay under some dietary restrictions, could the Miami Heat, could Pat Riley go out there and attempt to make a big splash and acquire someone like Zion Williamson to put alongside players like Bam Adebayo and Kellman Ware to really make this Miami Heat team absolutely terrifying? Now, Zion Williamson, when on the floor and when healthy and when playing substantial minutes, there's no way around it, despite the overall size, in the sense that he might be a little overweight for a professional athlete, a professional basketball player. He still has the ability to flat out be dominant on the basketball court. And obviously he's been playing in New Orleans, where he did have Brandon Ingram for a little bit of time. He did have CJ McCollum for a little bit of time. But how much has he actually been healthy? How many games has he actually been able to play alongside these other good co-stars, in the sense of being able to get good reps in, and be able to highlight not only his overall abilities, but his potential alongside other good players? It's very much diminished. And there's a lot of outliers, in the sense of there's very few games where that's actually been able to occur. Now, if you're able to send him to Miami, in the sense where you put him next to players like Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Kellman Ware, as well as a bunch of other good young pieces, Zion Williamson could finally reach his overall potential and really maximize his overall abilities in Miami. Now, I love this idea. This is something we've talked about in the past on this channel. It's been a while because, again, the conversations about Williamson have really died down, in the sense of directly going to the Heat or overall just being traded. But now that we're in the offseason for this Miami Heat organization, it seems like this is getting more and more real by the day, and it seems like Heat Nation is extremely optimistic and open to this idea. Now, I mentioned how Joe Dumars is now the new president of basketball operations down in New Orleans. Now, the Pelicans also did just get the 7th overall pick in this up-and-coming draft. So, draft compensation-wise, they do have adequate, really, compensation, if you will, in the idea that they are going to have good draft picks upcoming in this year, as well as having Zion Williamson at their disposal. Now, he's only in the 2nd year of his 5-year contract that New Orleans gave him for 5 years, $197.2 million. Now, that is a substantial price for someone in Williamson if he is not playing. If he is playing, this is more than reasonable of a price for someone in Zion, because, again, like we mentioned earlier, he could flat out be dominant, especially if you put him in an organization like Miami, where he's going to be playing alongside players like Tyler Hero, like Bam Adebayo, like Kellman Ware, like these other young studs and other good players they have in this organization, as well as being coached by Eric Spoelstra, as well as being under really the guidelines and control of Pat Riley. We could see a different version, a new version of Zion Williamson that could really maximize his capabilities. Now, whether or not Joe Dumars is going to walk into his new job and make a big splash by trading Zion Williamson and trying to reset the New Orleans Pelicans franchise as a whole, could be a very reasonable and open option to Joe Dumars and the rest of this New Orleans Pelicans organization. It's just whether or not they are going to be stingy on the price. And I think it's going to come down to how many teams are actually open and willing to try to acquire Zion Williamson this actual offseason. Because if there's not a ample amount of teams, and there's only a few, 2 to 3, maybe even 4 teams calling in the Pelicans and trying to see if Williamson is actually available, the price could not be as steep as if there was a bidding war and there was 15 to 20 teams looking to acquire Williamson, which could be a leg up for this Miami Heat team. So right now we're looking at Williamson, who has been injury prone, has had an inability to have any form of dietary restriction, and have an inability to lose any heavy weight that he's been maintaining since he was even at Duke and in college coming into the league, as well as not being the biggest trade target this offseason. The Miami Heat could be in a phenomenal position to go out and acquire someone like Zion Williamson for a discounted price. Adding someone as dominant, with the ability to be as dominant as Zion Williamson, I don't know why this Miami Heat team wouldn't be on the phone with Joe Dumars and the rest of this New Orleans Pelicans organization right now looking to acquire and seeing what the overall trade package would require for this Miami Heat team to go out and acquire someone like Zion Williamson. I would love to know what you guys think about this possible opportunity down below. You guys know how I feel about it. I can't wait to hear how you guys feel about it down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. And again, let me know down below what you guys think about this possible mock trade and if you guys would like to see Zion Williamson in Miami. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.